Hello and welcome to Code with JV. Today, I'm going to talk you through some of the best AI no-code tools that are out there. I've got 4 of them, going to compare them side by side, talk a little bit about their features, give you a demo of each of their paid plans, help you figure out which of them are the best for you and your projects. Let's jump into it. All right, these are the 4 tools we've got: Replit, Bolt, V0, and Lovable. You've probably heard a little bit about them or seen people build things with them. There are a few other ones out there, but in my opinion, these are the 4 leaders in the space. Their free tier usage. In this one, Replit probably gives you the least on the free tier. They give you 10 AI credits that you can use, or AI agent interactions. They usually charge 25 cents for them, and they take a whole month to reset. You can do a little bit, but to ship a full project, probably not going to be able to do it within a single month. Whereas Bolt and Lovable, they give you a small amount per day and they reset the next day. So within like 5 or 6 days, you can usually go through your monthly allocation. But if you do a little bit each day, that's probably enough to finish a small project just on the free plans. Whereas V0, by far the most generous one. And by far, it's still not that great. You still will hit rate limits, I found. I can ship a project in a day very often, like a small project. And if I come back to it over a couple of days, I can usually do 2 or 3. Free tier is not great on any of them, but V0 is the best. Private projects is one of the main things they use to get you to pay them money. So on all except V0, by default, on the free plans, anything you put up there, someone else can discover and see. So not great if that's a concern for you. Whereas V0, they don't publish them in like a marketplace of build on top of this person's idea type thing. Replit can do the most stuff. You can do native mobile apps with it. It's also got the most features overall. You can access the servers where things are running in Replit, and it's got a built-in hosting environment. So they've got the most features and also the most tech that you can build with. Bolt would come second because they can let you do React Native mobile apps, whereas Lovable's just full stack websites, whereas V0 is just the front end. It's more of a user interface tool. Replit does the best on GitHub. By default, when you create a project, it makes a Git project for it, and then you can easily sync it with GitHub to do read and write. Same with Lovable. It doesn't create it by default, but you can create a GitHub project easily. Every time Lovable changes it, it commits to the project. Bolt will copy from a public GitHub project, but won't write to it, and V0 does neither. You've got to copy it down and put it into the project yourself. And so for a lot of people, GitHub and source control might not be high on their lists, but if you're looking at building something that isn't just a throwaway app that you actually want to keep for a little bit, in my opinion, GitHub's really essential. It's a very important way of managing changes, rolling back, having different versions. This design quality, one, I'm a developer, not a designer. And also this is not giving it design instructions. And one of the things you'll learn about using AI for anything really is that if you just give it a very vague high-level instruction, well, you're setting it up to fail. And so this is me saying, how good is it at design when I just say build a thing? Lovable V0 look the best in my opinion, Bolt second, Replit third. You can work around them if you give it more specific instructions or brand guidelines or colors or screenshots of what you want to build. Bolt and Lovable integrate with Figma through explicit plugins. V0 says it as part of their paid plan, but I found its integration wasn't anywhere near as good. It looked a little bit more like taking a screenshot of the design and chucking it in as an image, whereas Bolt and Lovable actually partnered with organizations with Figma plugins and did a lot more work under the hood to try and get a more accurate implementation of that design. Bolt's only shipped this morning, and I really liked their implementation where in your Figma URL, when you're looking at a layer, you just chuck bolt.new in front of it, and then it will go and try and turn it into a Bolt project for you. They all offer hosting, Replit and Lovable with built-in. It's very easy to host them on multiple services, though V0 is built by Versal, so they've coupled with that, and Netlify is a good option for free hosting. Their pricing's pretty similar. Replit's a bit more expensive. If you sign up for a whole year, you can get them at $20 a month as well. But committing to a tool for a year in this environment, that's commitment. You've got a lot of faith there, right? They're all shipping quite regularly. All of these projects have shipped stuff in the last month, so I expect them all to change quite a lot, particularly because there's a fair demand for this sector and a lot of people are spending money on these tools because you can get a lot of bang for your buck, which means there's a fierce competition amongst them. The AI allowances are a little bit hard to compare. Replit is very transparent. It's like you get 100 checkpoints and it costs 25 cents a checkpoint. You can re-up if you run out of them. Bolt with the number of tokens you use, but it's very hard to know how many tokens were used on an individual change. And V0 is just like, hey, you just get more than on the free plan. I found with the paid plan of V0, I wasn't running out. I don't know if I ever hit a rate limit for my usage. And Bolt, I built a project and it didn't put that much of a dent in the 10 million tokens. This is the cheapest tiers they put out there. They've also got higher plans if you use them a ton, but I didn't get close to any of their limits. And all unlimited private projects once you start to pay for it. So that's a quick overview of just how they stack up against each other on paper. And now let's do a practical demo. I'm going to try and build something in each of them at the same time and see how they're different. So I have the 4 sites up here: Replit, Bolt, V0, and Lovable. And they all start with a chat box about what you want to build. So I'm going to build a learning management system because I've got the course that this lecture is part of, and it's going out in a couple of days. I've always wanted a very particular kind of student experience for my learning management systems, and I never liked the ones I could get out there. I also think this is an interesting use case for these tools because so often when you build software, you've got to really get it just right to get a payback on the time and energy you put into it, or the money, because it takes so much time to build them. But with the cost of certain types of software going down so much, you can kind of use it once and throw it away in some instances. So I'm going to see if I can build a learning management system for my course. All right, I haven't spent much time on this, but I've gone and written out a bunch of prompts, and let's see how we go. So student portal, multiple courses. First one, it's called Learn to Code a little bit. Okay, let's go. Give that to Replit. Now Replit's going to come back with a, hey, tell me more. Here's my plan. What do you want to do? The other ones tend to just jump into it. Also, I'm on the paid plan for each one of these. And you can see here on Lovable, for example, it was saying, oh, it's public by default, which for this instance is fine. But you can also change that a bit later. This is also an interesting way to compare their speed, I find. So here it wants to build this. It's analyzing the request. I found Replit wasn't the fastest, but it does do a full stack application. I'm just going to go with the defaults on all of these. And a lot of them are defaulting towards React applications or Next.js for Vercel, ShadCN for the UI. If you don't know what those words mean, it doesn't matter. You just hit approve and go. I found it was fun a little bit to watch them all doing the writing. It's like, wow, they're producing a lot of stuff. Here is Bolt. Oh, looks like it's out the gate with something I can look at. The other ones are still working. Yep, there we go. So Bolt's pretty fast. This is what it came out with from the beginning. With just that prompt of like, build me a learning management system, I can click some things. What is programming? That's going to take me to example. Okay, it's taken me off somewhere. It hasn't built that bit yet. It has got these dashboard. So quite a minimal little thing, but progress indicator, an initial take on it. Still going here and here. Has Replit got something? Okay. And it started the first checkpoint. Now let's start to look around the interface here. As I said before, Replit's got the most functionality on it. If you click this plus arrow in Replit, you'll see all the sorts of things you can add. Like it's got networking things, integrations. You can start to look at documentation and a debugger and a database, and like, so quite a large thing. Like it would take a fair bit of time to learn all the stuff you can do with Replit. But when you learn it, you'll have quite a lot of capability. So it's the biggest by far of the projects. You'll see here I've got the agent V2. Because I'm on the paid plan, it's giving me access to the more powerful agent. And you can see it chipping away here, thinking about, okay, what does it think a learning management system should look like? V0's come back as well. And again, learn to code, basics, course materials, what's it got on continue learning? The V0 I find is quite recognizable. Like, okay, it's got a dashboard. The design systems it use, very black and white. I find that V0 likes to run ahead of itself a little bit. Like it'll sketch out quite a lot of interface and a lot of the things won't work. Whereas if you look at Bolt, for example, it has gone and everything that is built, apart from like these external things, it's built less, but it's built it more fully. And again, I've just noticed that tendency a little bit, which is somewhat interesting. And here we've got, and Lovable is still working. So it is trying to build out a fair amount of stuff. Oh, here we go. Learnopia. There we go. Thanks for the name, AI. The courses aren't there. One of the things I really like in Lovable is that it's got this drop down for like the entry points into the application. Whereas if you go to, say, Replit and you want to jump around to different things, then, oh, it's still going. Still building there, aren't you, Replit? Oh, look, you're building curriculum as well. Thank you. If you go to Replit in the browser, like you have to type things in to move around. Lovable, I found, had quite a lot of nice, thoughtful UI things in there. But if we look at this, oh, they've got streaks, 25%. They took a while, so does that mean I can get into, here we go, some extra pages, continue learning, first HTML, building curriculum as well. It shows you like how commoditized stuff can be, right? Both software and also curriculum. It's like, yeah, you can just sit down with here, build an application to teach you how to program. It's crazy before, right? But you can just do it now. You finished yet? Still going. And it's chewing off a bigger chunk. Replit is the one which does like, the next time you hit a checkpoint, that's 1 credit gone, 25 cents worth of work. And I don't know, could you pay a developer to do this in 25 cents? It's a dynamic industry, eh? Let's start to jump into the next thing I'm going to try and get it to build. Oh, here we go. So what I did in this command was I just went to my website and just grabbed like a bunch of the colors that are on there and a random description for things in some fonts. How well do they listen to make it look a certain way? So let's give this one to V0, Lovable, and maybe, how you doing there, Replit? Oh, you're still going. Best 25 cents overspent. Well, I don't know, but it's chewing away. Okay, we've got Bolt. You can see here it was a private project by default. Their export functionality. So here it's changed some colors. Again, not a big fan. I didn't exactly give it great colors to work with. There's a lot of clashing in there, but it's done a job. It's changed some things. V0 is going, and now, oh, our wonderful Learnopia. It's gone and got some green buttons in there. Change the font a little bit. Lovable has got a great GitHub integration. Click it, start committing to GitHub for you. So it's very easy to have someone else contribute to it. Like if you're building with Lovable and get stuck, very easy to get someone else to help you. And also you can keep your project in Lovable for longer. Whereas I find with V0 and Bolt, where they don't have that GitHub integration, it's like prototype within this tool, then get it out to do stuff with it. And Replit, you can stay in there the whole time. Oh, and you're still going. I wonder if it got proper stuck. One thing you can do is you can click to the code it's doing, and you can start to see, yep, no, it's still working on this lesson plan. I've never seen it work this hard on a single thing. I reckon it knows it's on video and it's trying to impress you. That's what's going on here. It's like, yeah, hey, I work real hard. Choose me, choose me. So let's go on to the next one. And often I find that these ones here, they're pretty good at like responsive by default. Like here you can see that Bolt has made some choices with the navigation, which you wouldn't want to do. It'd be like, okay, I probably want a hamburger menu. Don't know what other people call it. I call it a hamburger menu when viewing on mobile. Another thing that's really popular to do is to like use Super Whisper or some other transcription software, so you can just speak what you want to do, less typing, and the AI can take really unformulated ideas and structure them quite nicely. So let's give Bolt a free one here just to say, can you fix the hamburger menu? So have you finished creating profile? No, it's still, wow. I haven't even seen it go half this long before. All right, let's see what the next thing we want to build is. Okay, so I'm just going to try and change it a bit here. I only want to see the current week is active, and I want future weeks to be sort of grayed out until a user has access to it. Let's give this to all of them. Here we go, Replit, and it is now starting to try and run and build everything, which is progress. It's finished writing, and now it's installing all the dependencies. It is now hit an issue, so it's going to be trying to debug that itself. So we'll let it tick away. Bolt has come through with the next feature, week 2, week 3, and here we can see week 3 is grayed out a bit. So again, very minimal implementation. V0 is thinking about it. I think it's going to come back with a heavy one. And Lovable is still, oh, this is a suggested message, which I quite like. It's like, it's noticed that course is large, and if we refactor it, it's less likely to have errors, and it's going to be faster to build and cheaper to build. So the idea of making your code better as you go, most people don't think about, but is a really solid strategy for getting the most out of your systems. And here we've got V0 has come back with the, what does it look like to see the different lessons here? Lesson 2. So this is week 3, and here we go, they're grayed out a bit. Not yet released, locked. Okay, interesting. Continue learning. Okay, it's building a whole bunch of stuff. Let's go and get a teacher dashboard in there. And this is the feature that I kind of most want, is the how do I individualize a curriculum per student? Giving the teacher insights into a student's progress and giving them the tools to say, okay, how are you going? What do you want to be different? Customizing courses is, I think, a lot of the power of what AI can bring to education these days. Because when you get a human teacher with AI combined, I think you can have very rich learning experiences. We've done enough refactoring. Let's keep going with progress. And okay, so this is a good lesson on what happens when you try and do too much at once. You get a bit stuck, right? Agent is waiting for a response. It's built some things, but it's all broken. So we might not get to do this yet. I thought you were trying to flex Replit. We'll just say there's an error, fix it. Other times you have to tell them about it. And it is now looking at the application itself. Let's see, it took the screenshot. Now it's got the issue. It knows what's wrong. It'll try and fix it. Here's Bolt with the control flow in here. Now it's got teacher dashboard. Again, Bolt's pretty quick. I think they're trying to live up to their name a bunch. Let's see what it thinks it should be like for a teacher. All right, pretty minimal. I want more functionality there. I think it didn't really get the per student changing thing. It was a bit too quick on that one. And Lovable is, this is good learning. So here, Lovable will often have like a build unsuccessful, and it will have an error message here. And I find clicking on it, and they've got this nice shortcut for like, here's the error message, press F, and it will say, here's the code. This is the error I got. Please fix it. So as opposed to like copy, pasting, telling it some things, because it's quite common. I do find that Lovable is a bit more fragile than the others. I've seen more build errors building with it than I have with the others. Now, what does it think it looks like for Teacher Dashboard? Help, nope, resources. One of the things I like with V0 is the back button just works in the browser, whereas if you hit the back button with Replit, you're sort of going elsewhere. Bolt's back again with more stuff to look at. Here, it's hidden error, show problems. One tip, if you are doing this and you see an error, is that you can basically say, okay, think about the error. Instead of just saying, hey, here's the error, fix it, and which you might try once, but then it comes back, and if it breaks and it gets in this loop of like thrashing, then having it stop and think about what could be the causes, giving you suggestions. I find they're sometimes trigger happy and they'll go and try and fix it anyway. Other times it'll come back and say, hey, here's 3 problems I think it could be, and then you can pick the one you want it to try and fix. So having it just stop and think is a way to solve errors which seem a bit harder. So if we go continue learning, I can see progress. Often in V0, I found unless it gives me a link to it, I have to type to get there. And that's where I really like. So if I type teacher, will I see it? Here's the teacher portal. And I just had to guess that. So if it does that often, I'm like, make me a top nav up here so I can jump between them. But see what I mean about it being like aspirational in how much UI it builds? It really wants you to build a lot of stuff. Here's some courses. Here's some activity, view all activity. Active students. If I click on my students, what do I see? Nope, nothing up there. And create a new course. Okay, so it's gone and sketched out a lot of stuff. So here I'm going to like just get it to do more work, have it think a bit more so I can click around a bit. I think one of the best use cases of these tools is often to refine your thinking by building something. Like as you can click on something and see it, and even if you never keep the code, you're exploring an idea through building software. And I find that is a good way to like build the right thing. Here's the student, my courses. Do you have a teacher for me? Teacher dashboard. I'm probably going to keep one of these interfaces and actually build the LMS for the course with it. So I am thinking a little bit about what do I like. Okay, week 1, unpublish. So this is like managing the whole course. Students. Okay, might not be the best instruction, but here we can see the dashboard, some things. And because I don't like the Bolt one as much, I'm probably going to go with V0 or Lovable from this interaction. I do want to show you what they've built. Here I find with Replit, if you ever see took a screenshot, down here, the agent thing, click this and it will actually get you the real site. It'll take a while sometimes to spin it up because it's building the whole server. Hey, we can see stuff. What did you build with all that time? Code learner, okay, that's me. Got a dashboard where we are. No explore courses, assignments, quizzes and resources. None yet. Okay, I will give it let's give it a teacher dashboard. Have it chip away. There's a whole bunch more features I can do, but I think you get the gist of the tools. What I want to show you is let's do authentication. So Bolt, user authentication, separate teacher. V0 is thinking, let's not interrupt it. And Lovable is there too. Again, I haven't asked for a teacher yet on V0, but we've got the thing here, course management, so much stuff. What does V0 do for auth? So here, it's asking for Superbase URL. Cool. And so Superbase, great open source, good free plan. I'm going to make a new project here, Bolt LMS. Okay, it won't be a long-lived project, but it creates the project for you, it sets it up, it can define your database schema, it can do the migrations, it can get auth going in there. It has now understood about the Superbase thing. I think it should be fixed, but I'll just hit that so it double checks it. I find that V0 will often just mock up the authentication and not implement it all the way. And then you have to tell it, hey, please integrate with Superbase if that's what you want to use. It doesn't have the nice buttons in there, but it can get the job done. And Lovable as well has a good Superbase integration. And one of the things that you can do is you can actually connect the same projects to each other. So you could use the same database driving ones from multiple providers. You'd want to be careful with that. Like, okay, I can connect to it. Was that a good idea? Do they actually share the same data under the hood? If we're just building authentication for this demo, probably doesn't matter. But you'd want a separate database per project normally. I just wanted to show you how you can use this to connect to an existing one. And once you're connected, Lovable's got really nice like shortcuts into it. Whereas I find that with Bolt, it'll just like go to Superbase and figure it out. Bolt, I quite like the migrations. Like it's saying, hey, I think you need a user roles table. And I'm going to go and lock down some things and set up some permissions for you. So I find Bolt is more aware of Superbase and integrates a bit nicer with it. But that does mean that if they both have student and teacher login, I can share them between those two sites. And that is I think that's probably enough to give you a sense about what these tools can do, what they're like. I mean, nothing's going to beat jumping in and playing for yourself. But final thing, let's deploy them. So here, I like that on Bolt, you hit deploy and it basically goes over here and says, please deploy. Like that's all deploy does, is it just tells the LM to do it for you. Whereas if you hit deploy on V0, it's going to start to hit and it is going to create a project for you. It's very tightly integrated. It's quite a nice experience. All of them I found their publishing is fairly reasonable. Lovable is a good one where you can put your own domain on it without having to go to another system. So if you have just Lovable and GitHub, then it's hosting it for you and it is giving you a reasonable hosting allowance for your $20 a month. So you can kind of live with just one system. Whereas here, it is going to be building out to Netlify. I don't know if it's configured to email, but it could be. And so here, this is the website that we built with Bolt, bugs and things and all. It's got the features that we built kind of like the smallest feature set, I would say, but it was the fastest and it was pretty accurate and it wouldn't have used too many tokens. There's going to be I could keep building a lot more on the plan there. Here we have got ourselves, you're still working? Yep, it is building out a lesson editor. So Replit, building it very thoroughly, quite substantial, but also it was a bit slower. There'd be a lot of watching here. And I really didn't like how I had auth at the beginning for it, but it's a very full-featured and capable sort of system. V0, we can see the student profile here with all the different things that were built in it. And just like before, because I haven't linked up the nav, I've got to type to get into the teacher area. So it hasn't fully integrated the auth, but so much design, so much stuff that it's built in here. And I find that just the volume of UI it does is usually you want to hold it back a bit. And then Lovable has given us this website, which I thought was quite clean. Oh, manage courses, manage students. Did we click on this before? I didn't see much of it. It was starting to build out a student roster with the courses in the teacher dashboard and student. And this is what I meant by often they'll give nice demo or mocked passwords to get through authentication. And it's always nice to put authentication at the end. Build what you want, test it out. But streaks and a whole bunch of things. Personally, I'd pick the Lovable one. I like having less stuff in there as a starting point for where to go next. So hope you liked that demo and found it useful. In summary, Replit, it's got the most stuff. I'd only use it if I was on the paid plan. It's got good GitHub integration. Design's not as good, but it's got a ton of tech stack it can do. And if you just want to stay in one tool and one tool only, nothing on your computer, Replit's a pretty good choice. V0, best one if you don't want to spend any money. You can also use it in terms of rapid prototyping and design-centric development. And it's got a good design quality. I find they can look a bit same, but you can work around it. Bolt, React Native apps if you want that. Doesn't have good GitHub integration. I don't like the look of it as much, but it's fast, it's solid, doesn't make that many mistakes. And Lovable, I find, is the one looks a bit better. I find Bolt's a little bit stronger on engineering. Lovable's a bit stronger on design, but they're pretty neck and neck overall. But all these tools are shipping features every month. Like Replit's had 3 announcements in the last month. Bolt came out with the Figma integration this morning. So I expect there's going to be a lot of competition and rapid development over the year. But to be honest, I kind of wouldn't recommend any of them long term. And don't get me wrong, they're awesome to get started with. If you don't know much about programming or you've never built something like this before, they are the best way to get started, in my opinion, because a really good way to learn is by building a project and learning what you need to get that project working. And these tools just help you build much better projects much quicker. It's really cool. I'm really excited to be using them. But they're essentially just reselling AI credits at a markup. And you're better off learning what it takes to go direct to that source, because you'll be able to save some money, but mostly you'll have a ton more control and you'll be able to go faster for longer. Because with these tools, they give you a lot of fizzle quite quickly, but you will quickly grow beyond what they can do unless you get some fundamentals under you. So what I would suggest is learn the skills you need to use Claude directly, to use Cursor, to cut the intermediary out, and to set up a development environment, learn the terminal, etc. That can sound quite intimidating, but you don't have to learn that much. I'll show you what I mean by let's do the same thing, but with a proper development environment, and let's just see the difference. All right, so here I've got Claude, and this is the desktop version. It's another one of those $20 a month plans that everyone seems to really like. But it's the just general purpose desktop AI that you would use like ChatGPT or any others. Thing is, I've plugged it into a bunch of these tools called MCP tools, which basically extend it and give it the abilities to do stuff on my computer, like write code or run a web browser or talk to GitHub. So it can do things for me which really take away a lot of the time from developing. And I use it every day in my professional development practice. So let's give it the same commands we were given the other ones. So I'm also going to give it a little bit more instructions about where I want to put the code, something like this. And what Claude will do now is every time it wants to do something on my computer, it's going to ask me for permissions. And that's essentially a safety feature. Like, do you really want it to write to your file system now? And Anthropic are pretty good about the safety stuff. The MCP protocol that Claude is using here was developed by Anthropic, and it's a way to give AI access to tools to do things on your computer. And it's rippled throughout a lot of the development practices. It's moving really fast, and I think it's one of the hotter technologies to pay attention to. And it's all sort of garnered in tech language, but hey, with 5 minutes, you can look online, learn about it, and learn how to plug it into your own Claude desktop. Because while I'm on the paid plan here, this works fine on the free plan as well. Claude have got pretty generous limits. Like 3.7 Sonnet is the stronger model, which you only get some use of on the free plan. Haiku will do a bunch of things for you. You'll need to pay more attention to it, have it do smaller things in smaller steps, but you can get through stuff on the free plan quite well. And if you do upgrade and use the paid plan here, well, you're just spending it once. You're not spending like your general purpose AI subscription, as well as your AI builder subscription, as well as your database, like all the things start to stack up. And so there is a financial thing, but mostly the reason I think that this is why I would say is a better approach is that it'll take you 20, 30 hours maybe to get comfortable in the world of terminals and developers and GitHub and code editors, etc. And if you can do that, then you'll have so much more capability to build larger, bigger, quicker projects. So while I've been talking, Claude's been chipping away. It is creating index files, and I see an app.js in there. It's like it's using React to get started in this. One of the things about Claude is if it's doing a large amount of project setup, like it just did here, it says it's hit the max length, you need to hit continue. Sometimes if I'm creating a project from scratch, I've got to hit continue a bunch of times. It depends how big the setup is. Is it doing a Replit on us, or is it doing a bolt? So we'll see how it goes. All right, so it's wrapping up here. And if it looks similar to what the other one's done, it's because it's the same model underneath. It's just going direct to the source rather than having someone in the middle. It'll give instructions here. And also, if you've never seen npm install or start or what is this, you can just ask Claude straight here, tell me about the code you've made. I don't understand this. What does this file do? How does this work? And you'll learn a ton by doing it while trying to make something useful. All right, so here I've got a terminal open. Again, seems a bit scary, easy to learn. Let's have a look at this. I'm going to use an app called Cursor, AI-powered code editor. One of the things you can do with this is it's got 3 different modes of talking where you can ask questions about the code base. So the best coding educator you can find. What is a package? It doesn't care about typing or spelling. And it will start to describe it, talk about it. Oh, what's this mean? How does it work? You can just learn everything you need to by picking up the tool. And you can also start to say, how do I run things? And so to do that, in package.json, it's in JavaScript. There's some things where you run a script like this. So if I go npm run start, we could get it to run it for us. And this is where run the server for me. This is loading up an agent just like all the other no-code developers did. But this time it's saying, I'm going to run npm start like I did in my terminal. But now it's saying, oh, it's not found. It's going to be smart enough to realize that's because it hasn't installed the libraries. So normally you'd be like npm run start, you type it in your terminal, what's that mean? Maybe you Google the error, maybe you ask someone, you're a bit stuck. And here, well, the agent's running it for us. It's going to actually install the packages. Then it's going to start the server. And so it's not just a case of teaching me things I don't know. It's a case of doing the work for you in your terminal, in your editor. It is really turning things on its head. So it's installed the dependencies for us. Now it's going to try and run the server. Now it's going to ask me if it's allowed to. Oh, look at this. Now it's got a problem. Bunch of ways to get error messages in there. You can get it to run the browser itself. You can also just go old school. It's funny how old school is sort of going, hey, AI, here's an error, fix it for me. But it is like copying and pasting into AI, which is what most people are familiar with doing. To me, that's a sign that the AI workflows are not strong enough. I want it to see that error itself. I want it to fix that error and not bother me and come back when it's working. And that's the sort of things which it takes a little bit of tuning to get your development workflows to do it. But here it is having a look at it. It's actually trying to run the NPM server again, but it's fixed the error. Paste it in there, run the server. Now it's looking at it, and now we can see what Claude built for us. We've got Claude, it seems very similar to the other ones, right? I could go on and just start to do more work with it. And for example, if I give it the second task, which was like, hey, fix the designs for me. I'm already in here, it's running. Great. I'm going to accept all the code. What it can do is when it does a change, and this is where it is a level up from anything I can do with the AI no-code servers, is I can say, hey, change this for me. And then look in the web browser yourself and tell me if the colors are correct. Tell me if you like them. Give me design feedback on it. It starts to have this loop in there, which it can be a lot more autonomous. And again, Cursor, it's got really generous free plans. Just like Claude does. You can chew away on the free plans for a long time, and you're going to go slower. You'll always go faster if you spend money on your AI, but you can start to build quite a lot. And this is where, yeah, it's a bit of investment to get the skills, but it pays for itself really quickly if you're serious about actually wanting to build something that's useful. If you just want to have a toy for friends or a hobby or a throwaway app, absolutely just stay in the no-code ones. But I love software development, I love education, and to me this is just super exciting stuff. Do we want to hang around for the color scheme? Oh look, colors. So if you want to have more control, the key skills you need to get: terminal basics, source control in GitHub, learning how to read code, and particularly navigate a code base, like what lives in what file, what do they do? Because if you're using something like Cursor, the way to make it really good is to say, I want to change this, and these are the exact files I need to change, and I want to change them in this way. If you can give them those sorts of instructions, you can really lift its capability rather than just, here's everything, go fix something for me. Deployment, web fundamentals. I mean, and you can learn all of those things for free. Like I said, you can just download Cursor, download Claude, start going. With just a whole bunch of time and effort, you will totally learn all that stuff. Everything exists in the AI and on the internet. The Learn to Code a Little Bit course, it's been designed to speed run for folks. So it's like 2 to 5 hours a week for 6 weeks, kicking it off with a few people. This video is the first lecture of that course. So, hey everyone, if you're on the course, look forward to hanging out with you. And if you're just watching it on YouTube, then hope you consider it and also just have fun in your learning. It's called Learn to Code a Little Bit. I'm super excited by it. And I'm also super excited to be YouTubing again. I think it's been like a year and a bit. It's just been full on with lots of other stuff and consulting, and really excited to get back into making the videos. So if there's anything in particular that you want, then absolutely hit me up in the comments. Super excited to be teaching people about coding, about AI assisted development, about using AI, building with AI, all those things. But most of all, just like have fun learning. Because if you stop having fun, you're going to stop learning. So just keep at it, and I wish you all the best. Cheers.